So, after all that, a happy ending.
This video contains spoilers for Better Call Saul through Season 6, Episode 7, and everything in the Breaking Bad universe. If you're not caught up, this video won't be for you. Hey guys, Pete here. The first half of Better Call Saul's final season is complete, and it went out with a bang. A literal bang, as it were, and with no happy ending for Howard, who turned out to be a guy who did not deserve what happened to him. It was a good way to end an episode and the first half of a split season, though. It left us with a lot to consider, and I'll be doing that over the next couple of days with more videos, but I also wanted to touch on this post-credits teaser they introduced after the mid-season finale. In a word, it's ominous, but there's also a dash of hope mixed in. It's sparse, but I found it to be evocative for a couple of reasons. First, it's a teaser in the purest sense. It doesn't show us any scenes from the next episode, or at least not in the traditional way we're used to. Instead, it shows Kim and Jimmy's condo in black and white. There's nothing happening there. And the thing that stands out is that it's much cleaner than when we saw it at the end of episode 7. What I liked about that ending is that the deed is done, and we're left speculating about what comes next. The teaser plays right into that, and where it gets interesting is the small bit of dialogue. Jimmy or Saul or maybe even Gene says, "So, after all that, a happy ending." What really got me about this is that when I tried to figure out when it might be happening or the situation where he might say this, I realized that the characters are kind of in a place where I'm not sure what a happy ending might be. So that's the second thing. How are we supposed to be feeling about happy endings and who deserves them in light of what just happened? I'll be getting into all of that, and I was thinking today that after this ending, I'll be thinking about things a lot differently when I go back and rewatch the first 7 episodes. And if you're wanting to do that but don't think you can, today's sponsor, Atlas VPN, can help. If you're watching in the US, you know that you can only watch the first 5 seasons of BCS on Netflix. In other parts of the world, like Germany, new episodes of Season 6 are added weekly. If you connect to a German server through Atlas VPN, they'll encrypt your data and give you a new IP address, so Netflix thinks you're connecting from Germany. Reload your browser and all 6 seasons are there for the watching. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Time is running out, so get your deal by clicking the link in the video description below. I use a VPN for geo-restricted content all the time since I live outside the US. Even if you're not in my situation, a VPN is still a good idea because it makes surfing the internet safer and more secure. With Atlas, you can enjoy blazing speeds, you can use unlimited devices on this subscription, stop ads and malware, and maybe even get better deals when shopping online. Use the link in the description below to get 3 years for $1.99 a month right now with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect yourself online and get access to geo-restricted streaming libraries right now. So in this teaser, we're looking at the scene of the crime, and beyond the lack of color, it's the lifelessness of it that stands out to me. We spent so much time here over the run of the show. It's where Jimmy and Kim's relationship really happens. The scenes they shared here early on were the ones that made you want to root for them. It's where they eat their takeout and cuddle up to watch classic movies together. It's where Kim broke down listening to Jimmy stoically read Chuck's letter after he died, where they laughed together about her Kevin Wachtel impersonation, where she made her first U-turn and proposed they get married, and where they plotted out their plan to humiliate Howard Hamlin. Seeing it empty, but with everything exactly the same, makes you think about all the things that have happened here, and just how close we are to the series coming to an end. The black and white brings up the idea of Gene in Omaha, who we haven't seen yet this season. And even though it's not a surprise, I do have to mention the other short teaser they released hints that his return is imminent. This juxtaposition of a location from the BCS timeline in Gene-style black and white muddies the water about when the happy endings line takes place. In the current timeline, they're in the middle of a volatile situation that we know at least Saul survives. Things will likely get ugly with this new association with Lalo, so there could be a happy ending when that's over. The way Jimmy's voice cracks, it makes me think that he's talking to Kim, which could be another sign that it's happening in the current timeline. After he gets over the fact that Lalo is still alive, everything we know about him says his main concern will be Kim's safety. I feel like any ending that includes that could feel like a happy one for him, even if it's one where they're separated if that's what has to happen. Of course, that would be devastating for him, but story-wise, it would also open the door for a reunion after Breaking Bad. We know the series will end there. The season 6 poster is Gene putting on a jacket that screams Saul Goodman, and that is the place where something new and surprising could happen. What that might be brings us back to the question of what would a happy ending look like, and maybe more importantly, what makes sense for these characters after the unintended consequences of their plan and their previous decisions played a role in Howard's death. You could debate the levels of responsibility, but one thing you can't deny is that if they had left him alone, Howard would never have ended up dead in their living room. And it does come down to choices because they had chances to walk away. On some level, Jimmy understands just how bad things can go wrong with his schemes after what happened to Chuck after he tipped off the insurance company. That and his trip through the desert were enough to make him hesitant to go through with Kim's plan initially, but not enough for him to tell her no, or even better, put a stop to it. Once everything was in motion, he got what looked like a way out with the judge wearing a cast. But there, Kim doubled down and made that U-turn to make sure they could pull it off. I don't bring this up as evidence of how you should feel about these characters, but rather to highlight the tragic results of their decisions. That brings us back to consequences, which we know are important in stories crafted in this universe. They're woven into the fabric of both shows. And after my most recent rewatch of BCS in its entirety, the one area I believe it's more successful than its predecessor is its ability to develop complicated characters. In Breaking Bad, you were definitely supposed to root for Walt in the beginning, and then when more of his nature was revealed, you had to rethink your position. One decision they made that helped you arrive at the right place was to show that he always had those Heisenberg tendencies, even before he was diagnosed with cancer. That event allowed him to embrace the worst parts of himself, and made it possible for him to justify every awful thing he did. As time went on, you were forced to confront the reality that he was just a ghoul of a human being. Jimmy and Kim still seem more complicated, and part of what I love about what BCS does is it puts you in this place where you aren't sure how to feel about them. You know you were supposed to root for them at times, but where exactly are we going? In the aftermath of the plan and the execution, it's all right to be somewhere on the scale of hating them to still hoping that they might turn it around. Howard turned out to be a great example of this, and if you rewatch episode 7 closely, you'll notice how they very deliberately showed you his flaws right beside the reasons why you still should feel bad for him anyway. It's our nature to pick sides based on what makes the most sense from our experience, but we understand that real people are complicated in this same way, and assessing their worth or what they deserve is never simple. Because Howard died, and before he went out, he laid out a lot of really true things about them, it's difficult to square what the consequences for this should be. And that's where we come back around to the teaser. Would it make sense for either Kim or Jimmy to have a happy ending? And then what would that be? I always thought Kim would live because there had been a lot of potential in a reunion in the Gene timeline. After Howard's death and the revelations about how doing things like this is what drives a lot of their passion, it doesn't feel like having them come back together in the end would hit the same way. If they can't help themselves and their relationship would always become this, is there anything happy about it continuing? I guess the better question is there a path to redemption? Because I do feel like there should be consequences. It doesn't seem like it would feel like a Gilligan-verse story if there weren't. I think there's a higher chance of it having an effect on Kim and what she does next, but feel less solid about that than I used to. In the aftermath, I expect Jimmy to go into cockroach mode to ensure his survival while focusing on keeping his wife safe. And then, if the past is any indication, he'll compartmentalize, push down those uncomfortable emotions, and then likely cover them up by fully embracing the Saul Goodman persona. We know what part of his future is, and being Saul full-time, separated from Kim, is a type of consequence that leads to him becoming Gene. Both of those bits of his future are devoid of what made him likable as Jimmy McGill, and so in a way they are punishment. And it's not just circumstance and things happening to him. He brought a lot of this on himself. Kim is more of a mystery, and it's really hard to say where she goes from here. I'd like to hope that there's a path for redemption, but it's pretty difficult to see from where we are. As far as the happy ending that's referenced in the teaser, if I had to pick something, I'd say it's of Jimmy saying goodbye to Kim, and the happy ending being they got out of the Lalo situation alive. But I still want to think that it could be from the Gene timeline, and that the last 6 episodes make whatever he's talking about make sense. I can't wait to see what they have planned, and I think that's a good place to leave things. I'd love to hear where you find yourself in relation to happy endings and this complicated group of characters. We have a 6-week break to kick it around, and I've got more related videos planned to keep the conversation going. Let me know what you think in the comments and what you're thinking about after the mid-season finale. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.